Now, the other day I had my friend Dr. BESIGYE talking about opening of schools. Schools should be opened. These people don't have a plan. The government doesn't have a plan, because if they had immunized the teachers, the schools could be opened, because the children, even if they get sick, they recover. Okay, thank you very much, Dr. BESIGYE. But you have not thought the problem through properly. Actually, the teachers are among our priority list of immunization. And I think many of the teachers have already been immunized, because they were among the first. You remember the first list of Mama Jenna Cheng to be immunized? The 250,000 teachers were in that list. The list of 4.8 million people to be immunized first. The teachers were among them. But the problem, so even if they are all immunized, the teachers, the problem is that not all the schools, very few schools are actually boarding schools. So the children, because that argument of BESIGYE would work if all the schools were boarding. The teachers are immunized. The children, even if they are not immunized, because they manage to defeat corona, they get sick, but many of them will be healed naturally because of their young life. Although that's not the case, I have heard some of the children dying, actually. I have heard about that one also. But the problem is that many of the schools are day schools. So the children study and go back home. And when they go back home, they kill all their parents. Is that what Dr. BESIGYE wanted? Or he had not remembered that? Because the majority of you can check the number of schools, the day schools, and very many more than the boarding schools. So that's why we are saying, please, schools hold on until we have immunized the big majority of people. So that if the child goes to school, gets corona, he comes back, the people at home are already immunized. 600,000 people. 600,000 people is like all the Sabine dying. Because the Sabine are like 500,000. So you can imagine 600,000 people died in the US. The other day, I was saying goodbye to the ambassador of Sweden. I asked him, how many people died in your country? 14,000. In a country like Sweden, which is only, whose population is like 20% of the population of Uganda. But here, we had managed to control death until beginning of May, when only 300 people had died from the beginning of the crisis. But because of the empaka, everybody, many cooks spoiled the broth. And in discipline, with the second wave, the death rate now went to almost 3,000, I think, now. So the struggle this time has been to survive. Other things will be damaged, businesses will collapse. You will be chased out of houses, but people should not die. Now, before the corona crisis, I was having contacts with the very powerful groups in the US in textiles. They wanted to buy our textiles and set up textile factories here. Very big, I will get their names of those companies. But recently, when I checked, they told me, please don't mention those, or those collapsed. Those big textile companies in the US, they collapsed. Corona yasanyawo. Why did they collapse? Because they were called chains. They were called chains in the US. Chains, like, I think like supermarkets. Supermarket, MUSEVENI supermarket, MUSEVENI supermarket, where you go and buy. Now, when Corona came, it stopped people from going to buy. Nobody could come. They all collapsed. Now, how would you bring back those? How would you bring back those? How can, this was not a joke. This was a global crisis, bigger than war, actually. So how would you bring back all those companies? Because people could no longer, because these were businesses built on going to the shop to buy from there. People were going to buy. Even me, when I would go to, here we used to have a shop called Deacon's here in Kampala. And in, when I spent a few days in London, there were some shops, I've forgotten what they were called. Marks and Spencer. Marks and Spencer was a big shop. But you had to go there physically. Now with Corona, physical going was out. So what has now actually grown during this crisis is ordering online. Online has now grown. Ordering things online, they bring them to you. Don't go, you order. So the crisis has caused like a revolution. So therefore, don't spend too much time crying this, but we shall put a fund. That fund is there. I will tell the Minister of Finance to elaborate to see how these people can either recover or go to a new line. Yeah. My mother, Esther Kokondeka, died and I buried her. Don't you see me here? Amos Kaguta died. Things can happen and which you must have to forget. Like those business companies in the US, I don't know how they will recover. Because even the US cannot have the money to bring back all those companies.